Alright guys, welcome back to Valorant News. Going into the last chance qualifier, lots of talk from Sentinels as to how well their practice has been going over the last couple of weeks. They say they are far more prepared than many of their other competitors that only started practicing just a few days ago ready for this last chance qualifier and have missed out a lot on the progress that they have been making behind the scenes. Very much intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. Plenty to get into. Thought this is pretty funny as well here actually from the guards doing a video getting ready for Ascension. So, I mean, look, it's a big deal. These tournaments are absolutely massive over the coming days. The guard are out there in Sao Paulo. It begins very shortly indeed. The first group stage matches happen today. M80 versus the Union, for example, is going on tonight. The group stages go through. That makes the seeding for the playoff bracket, and then everything will be determined over the coming days. There's also this from eFuse announcing a $25,000 NA Team Deathmatch showcase. This is kind of crazy, right? Because Team Deathmatch is not typically considered to be a competitive gamer. Now, it works as Slayer, right, in Halo, largely because there are power-ups around the map, and if you just sit back and camp and don't get the power-ups, then you will lose. Now, in fairness, I guess it's a similar thing here because the orbs are around the map, so you have to go and collect them to actually get your ultimates and stuff and your abilities. So, look, maybe this could work, but obviously, like, if you're playing TDM professionally for a lot of money on the line, it won't play as fun as it does in casual games. It's going to be way more, like, you go up one kill and you sit back and relax for as long as you possibly can. Like, you know, I'm not sure this is going to work as well as they're hoping it will, but it's not yet clear exactly who's going to be playing in this one, to be honest. Also wanted to mention a few more things on Deadlock, because there's been another big update actually from Riot Games today on the future of Deadlock as a character. Ethan, after having played it for a bit, gives his opinions, saying that the crouch nade thing is pretty much like the molly, effectively. It doesn't do any damage, but it sucks you in, or it slows you down, basically. You have to crouch and stuff. He reckons that's basically useless on either side. The trips are pretty much useless on attack except for in a post plant. The wall lineups are decent, but you can't throw them too far. So I guess that makes sense to trap people in parts of the site and stuff. So, you know, I think there are some options there. On defense, though, the wall is very good, right? He also still reckons that the trips are decent on defense, but only for direct site defense, not area control. The crouch nade thing is useless again, and the wall is pretty cool. But and he also reckons the ultimate, he's bad with it. But still, the ultimate is theoretically pretty good, and the wall is actually very powerful, I think. And I don't know, people would argue that Sage is just a better version of Deadlock right now. And I think that's maybe fair analysis in some respects with, you know, with the wall and stuff. And poor Alfred, he chucks this thing down and he can't get even through it as a team, and they try to shoot it, but it doesn't work for him and he gets shot in the back as the enemy's flank. But if it goes well for you, this I actually saw from Clayster, 3-time Call of Duty World Champion. He comes in here for the clutch, and, you know, with 30 HP remaining after getting, I think it's a 1v3, 1v4 type situation, gets the second kill, comes through here, and chucks the barrier orb thing, like the wall, down on the other side and just sticks the defuse. And the poor guy can't shoot the barrier in time, and he just gets the free defuse, and the poor guy, you can hear him scrabbling, and he's just stuck behind this barrier, can't even come through. So that is actually a very interesting way to use this wall that I hadn't really fully considered before. And the fact that it requires so much ammo to destroy does make it pretty powerful. So Deadlock definitely, I think, will have her place in the meta at some point, but it won't be yet, because they've confirmed that for the last chance qualifier, they will be playing instead on the older 6.11 patch, I believe, which means it's going to be disabled for the LCQ. So initially, the LCQ and the Game Changers 2 was going to allow Deadlock to be used, but now it's only going to be playable for champions, which is pretty, you know, it's interesting, right? Does it matter that much? I don't know. And it does seem like Riot on this one can't seem to get their rule book clearly in check, because, you know, of course there are exceptions to be made, but Deadlock just about fit the time frame where typically she would be allowed for the LCQ. But of course, she's not being used on Ascension, so it's a different patch update that they're playing on. And then for champions, they then will play with Deadlock. So maybe that makes sense. But the issue is that after the LCQ, and this is certainly what we're going to see from Chet here in a second, that many things changed at that point, and also there aren't even many teams remaining. So the format here isn't as good as it could be. And we've got Deadlock not allowed for the Americas LCQ, right? So that's an official confirmation that's now come through. And this also from Chet. So this is where we get into a bit of the drama, right? And it's been some time since NRG's coach Chet has, you know, had a go at Riot, but it's happening again. So here we go. Ascension LAN ends July the 9th. Amount of teams that won't be practicing afterwards will be basically 0. Then the NA LCQ ends on July the 23rd. The amount of teams most likely scrimming afterwards will be 0. Some during the event, but most of the time that's going to be it. And then at Champs on August the 6th, there will be basically 0 teams per region. This is the issue with the format that they've got here, and he says good scheduling. And I guess what he's saying is that really the LCQ and Champions should be basically back-to-back, because if you're NRG or another team that's going to Champions, there will be, especially in region, basically no teams to actually play against. Evil Geniuses, of course, because they are going to Champions, as our NRG, will probably have to scrim each other, right? And this is the thing, you don't really want to scrim what could well be direct rivals at the tournament, but in your own region, there will be like 3 other teams even still playing the game. And also you've got to then consider that some of the patches are going to be different. For example, the NALCQ will possibly, okay, it might be played on the same thing as the Ascension LAN, but it's going to be played on a different patch update that they're actually going to be played at Champions themselves, because Deadlock isn't allowed here, but Deadlock's allowed here. So leading up to this tournament, the teams like NRG or EG will want to play with Deadlock enabled because they're going to use it at Champions, whereas all the teams playing in the NALCQ that they could practice against will be using a different patch update. So it's just a bit of a disaster, to be honest. Now, EG, they might remove the blacklist from playing EG. It seems like they're going to play each other again, and even as Doombro says here from Na'Vi, don't forget that half the time the different tiers are on, different patches, so you can't even practice half the stuff, which again is the point that I was just getting at. And even this, right, as he says in the replies, how could I forget that? I think my unborn nephew could structure a better esports calendar. So he's not happy at all about how this is working out. It's difficult to find a way to do it that much better than this, because I guess in their head they were thinking, all right, we'll just do the Ascension, we'll then do the last chance qualifier, then do Champions, perfect. But they don't necessarily think about it from the team's point of view. Now, speaking of the teams that are going to be there, this is a very interesting clip here that came up from Sentinels very recently, and Kaplan especially describing how things have been going with their team preparation. He says they've been putting in a lot of time, and to be honest, we have seen, Sentinels, okay, TenZ streams a fair bit, but outside of that, they've obviously been cracking on. They've not made any more roster changes, right? Their team has been maybe surprisingly stable, and Kaplan says that, yeah, we've been grinding, despite the Sentinels' tradition of not doing so. They're putting in the time, and Kaplan also says that plenty of other teams have only started practicing very recently and have missed a lot of time, and he reckons they're massively behind, and as a result, Sentinels are massively confident.
I still have, actually.
We took like a 5-day break maybe after after the league split.
Yeah.
And then we pretty much scrimmed since.
Yeah.
We've been grinding, despite the Sentinels tradition.
Yeah.
Of not grinding.
And we didn't change the roster so far.
The new era.
So Victor.
Man, I was just trying to stream. What's going on here? The wheel lied to me.
A lot of teams have not been grinding as long as us.
Yeah, some teams are like starting now, right?
Yeah, I've seen certain teams start just with a month left.
Not a problem.
It's not our problem. It's great for us. It's the opposite of a problem, in my opinion. I'm very confident about it.
Yeah, but I think we're doing a pretty good job, like on focusing ourselves only.
Yeah,
and we are getting better for sure.
Yes.
So what is this going to translate into, if anything, by the time they actually get to the last chance qualifier? This is the bracket, of course, if you guys aren't familiar with it. MIBR starting all the way on the left-hand side. And, well, we've got Com here from Evil Geniuses getting them to take down Crew, then to take down Furia. We know full well that Evil Geniuses needed MIBR to clutch up as they did against 100 Thieves as it was at the time, to make sure that Evil Geniuses could go to playoffs, then they could qualify for Masters and for Champions. So, they saved us, so I must ride with the boys. Vamos MIBR, so he's got them winning the entire thing, but he's also got Sentinels beating 100 Thieves as well, and this is pretty much what everyone seems to have right now. But even we saw the other day that Sentinels do seem like they're going to be competitive here. They should be, right? I mean, their team is great on paper, and excluding the teams that have already qualified, Loud, NRG, and Evil Geniuses, Sentinels should be right up there. Now, the favourites are going to be Cloud9, right? I think understandably, they were looking the best going forwards, but still, Sentinels seem to be highly, highly confident here. Kaplan is convinced that they're going to be doing incredibly well this tournament, and many other kind of people have said, I think even Victor had, them beating Cloud9 in this series, because he reckons that they will be in a good spot to do exactly that, because, they will have a warm-up series. Cloud9 might be a bit rusty after all this time off, and yeah, Sentinels seem to be finding their groove a little bit lately, just on what we've heard from behind the scenes, and also from this comment from Kaplan, because, look, they've not made any other roster changes, not saying they necessarily could, but it does seem like they're very confident in their potential going into the last chance qualifier in a few weeks' time. So very much enjoyed to hear your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.
Scratch one.
I'd like to 80.
Listening. Barrier deployed. No surprises.
Oh my god,
No,
you're insane.
nothing there.
One enemy remaining.
4 down.
80. He was here. Close yellow.
No charges. Sound sensor up. Throwing net.
Oh, doors. Oh my god. You are so